Welcome home, Cojourners. I'm glad you're here for another episode of the Homecoming Podcast. I'm Dr.Thema Bryant, here to facilitate your journey back home to yourself. I'm a licensed psychologist, minister, and sacred artist, and so glad that you are joining me on today. We like to start with poetry, and today's poem is by Rumi, and it reads, "First, lay down your head, then one by one, let go of all distractions. Embrace the light and let it guide you beyond the winds of desire. There you will find a spring, and nourished by its sweet waters, like a tree, you will bear fruit forever." Yes, my goodness, Rumi's poetry is so powerful. And I was inspired by reading that poem to focus on today's topic, how to bloom. How to bloom. It is so important that we think about not just healing from stress or strain or trauma, but for us to really think about becoming, evolving, being in full bloom, to blossom, to be the fullness of who we are, to be our authentic selves. Some would refer to this as positive psychology. Some would think about it as empowerment or thriving or liberation. And so I invite you to consider on today first a moment of imagining what will you look like when you're in full bloom? What will you live like, love like, think like, talk like when you are in the full manifestation of your gifts, of your graces, of your wisdom, of your knowledge, and that being an ongoing process, meaning that even if I am the full bloom of myself today, on tomorrow I will be an even fuller, more authentic representation of myself as we continue to grow, as we continue to learn, as we continue to heal. And so I want to talk to you about a number of factors that can help us bloom, a number of factors that can help us grow and develop and realize and manifest the truth of who we are. Not my wounds, but my truth. Not my pain, but my truth. Not my disappointment or heartbreak or trauma or stress, but the true essence of who I am at my core. And so a part of what can help us to bloom is water, for us to water ourselves and for us to receive water. And so I invite you to think about on today what hydrates you, what blesses your life, not what you pour into, not who you pour into, but how you receive. What are the things that are nourishing for you? And being intentional about not waiting to water yourself when you are already dried out, but what can be the function, the process, the regularity, the ritual of your watering, that you don't wait until you're burned out, that you don't wait until you're emptied or dried out. You don't wait until you break down physically, emotionally, spiritually, but instead to think intentionally. How will I water myself today? I am deserving of watering. That watering myself is not a luxury or an afterthought, but it is a necessity, that it is required for me to sustain life and for me to bloom. And so who are the people that are fresh water for you? What are the practices that water you? That may be reading. It may be listening to podcasts. It may be being around positive people. It may be therapy. It may be your spiritual practice of prayer and meditation. And so I invite you to recommit to watering yourself and for you to become intimately concerned with your water level, that we not neglect or abandon ourselves where we don't even realize that we're in a dry place. But I want to be mindful and soulful about the condition of my roots. I want to be mindful and soulful about my watering process. So not only do we want to think about what hydrates us and brings us life, but we also want to consider fertilizer. What are the things and who are the people that help us to grow? So I not only want to sustain my life, but I am actually looking into my growth and my development. And so what are the things that take me to the next level? What are the things that enhance my possibility? What are the books that I'm reading or the music I'm listening to or the prayers I am praying that take me to another dimension, that take me to higher heights and deeper depths, that allow me to evolve and fully become the truth of myself? So what was the last thing you did that helped you to grow? Did you go to a workshop? Did you go to a special service? Did you sit in the sun and journal? What are you doing that is intentionally meant not just for your survivorship, not just so that you can survive this season, but so that you can bloom, so that you can grow, and so you can develop? And so begin to think about what enhances my life, what activates my gifts, what environments, what relationships, what fertilizes my soil. We also want to think about the temperature. And when we think about the temperature, you are deserving of warmth. And many times we can spend a large part of our lives in cold environments. So if you are in a cold workplace that is not warm or affirming to you, if your friendships are cold and not attentive, that you're always the one reaching out, there's no reciprocity. If there is coldness in your love life, a lack of love, which could mean that you are alone but desiring connection, or it could mean you are in a loveless relationship. So you actually are with someone, but that person is cold to you, and you also have become cold to that person or to the relationship. And so I want to invite you to create more warmth, to create more connection, more validation, more celebration. When we are in affirming environments, there is a warmth there. When people are happy to see you and you are happy to see people, there is a warmth there. So it is reciprocal and mutual. I'm not just asking who are the people who are warm to you, but I invite you to think about, are you a warm person? Are you a kind person? Are you a welcoming person? Have the reality of harsh past experiences left you cold? And if you are cold and hardened, then that is a punishment to those around you, but also to yourself. And so we want to lively up ourselves. We want to think about melting our hearts. And a part of what helps a hard or frozen heart to melt is to be in a safe environment, to be in a loving environment, to be around people who are caring. And so where can you create more warmth in your life, in your friendships, in your family, even in your work environment? It may not be warm and fuzzy with everybody, but is there anyone in that workplace that you feel sees you, appreciates your contributions? And do you appreciate and see others as well? So we bloom in warm conditions. We also want to consider the weeding process. What or who are the weeds? And that could also be your own habits or mindsets that are choking your growth. What is blocking your growth? It may be negative thoughts. It may be self-judgment and condemnation. It may be harshness and hostility. It may be surrounding yourself with negative people who always pollute your ability to dream, and they contaminate your dream space or your hope or your confidence. And so what do you need to remove within you and around you so that you can grow? Even what are the life habits that you need to pull up and remove so that you can bloom and develop? So for some of us, what we need to pull up and remove is procrastination. For some of us, it is low expectations or no expectations. For some of us, it is self-sabotage. What are the ways that I am blocking my own blossoming? What are the ways that I am shading myself or denying myself or neglecting myself? Or what are the toxic or unhealthy relationships and connections where I know the more I spend time in these spaces, it talks me out of my dreams and out of my confidence. And so I become intentional and bold and courageous about removing the things from my life that are blocking my ability to bloom. Not only that, it is going to be important for us to let the light in, to let the light shine on us so that we can bloom. What do I mean by letting the light shine on us? I invite you to consider, what are the ways that you are hiding? What are the gifts that you are hiding? What are the opportunities or open doors that you have been running from? Perhaps even, what are the ways that you block out love or validation or support by saying, oh, no, 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 not me, or no, thank you, or the force field is so high up that I surround myself like a concrete wall and don't let anyone in, so that my armor can block the light from coming in. And there are many reasons why we may do that. Some of us fear success. Some of us fear failure. Some of us are afraid that if people pay attention to us, that it will be overwhelming or that there will be too much negative consequences. I want to say to you on today, you have gifts, you have purpose, you have possibility. You have gifts, you have purpose, you have possibility. And so if there is anything psychologically or spiritually that is causing you to hide from the light of your gifts being fully seen and realized, I invite you to be intentional about healing those spiritual and psychological barriers so that you can let the light come in, so that you can come out of hiding. You are not just for the background. You are not just to support other people's dreams and visions. I invite you to reclaim your own dreams and visions and gifts and let the light flow on those, to let the light shine on those. In order for us to bloom, we also need to be gentle with ourselves. And so we want to consider when a flower is first coming into bloom, we have to be careful about the conditions that it's in. If it is too windy, if people are being careless around it, if it is a toxic space, it is likely not going to be able to survive. And so as we are blooming, we want to be protective of ourselves. We want to be caring and gentle and have tenderness toward ourselves so that we can grow. You are in a stage of vulnerability when you are becoming. And so you want to be thoughtful and intentional about the conditions you place yourself in. And you want to be thoughtful about the conditions or environment that you remain in. Once you see it is unhealthy, once you see it is toxic, that it is too much drama, that it is too much trauma, that I am protective of my peace. I am protective of my dreams. I am protective about my growth. You have invested so much already in your survival and in your growth. So you don't want to just place yourself anywhere. You don't want to just put yourself in anyone's hands. You want to be around places and around people that are as intentional about you as you are about your own life's vision. I don't want to be careless about myself. I don't want to make myself the last priority. I don't want to devalue or dishonor myself. And so I invite you to consider, what are the ways that you need to be more gentle and more protective about yourself, about where you work, about what you eat, about your sleeping patterns, about your mental health, about your friendships and romantic relationships. I want to treat myself gently. I want to place myself in environments that are caring. And if I see that an environment, a work environment, or a person is careless as it relates to me, that instead of saying, well, let's give it a fifth or a sixth or a seventh chance to be dropped or discarded or mistreated, let me make another decision, because my growth requires my gentleness and my growth requires my care. And then we want to think about bloom. I have to build my confidence that the seed I am now is not the end of my story. I won't be intentional about my growth and development if I believe that this is all that there is for me. And so we become careless when we have given up, when we are in a place of hopelessness, in a place of despair about ourselves. And so I want to invite you to be intentional about building your confidence, about encouraging yourself, and about being around encouraging people. When I am confident that this is not the end of my story, that this is not all that I can be, then I will invest time, energy, and effort in my growth and in my blossoming. And so I want to invite you to just imagine a fuller version of yourself. If you can picture it, if you can imagine it, then you can believe that it's actually possible, and then you can work toward it. And so can you on today dare to believe that this is not the final or highest manifestation of you? Now you have to think about blooming in various ways. So the blooming may not be about your finances. The blooming may be about your heart life. The blooming may not be, how high can I go on this job? At this job, you may say, well, this is kind of a dead end. Where can I bloom, or how can I bloom outside of this job, right? Or outside of this space. And so to reimagine what the fullness of your becoming can look like, and to start to create a life and a pathway that is beyond settling or surrendering. And then finally, I want to say, in order to bloom, we need to rejoice in the growth along the way. Sometimes when we consider full blooming, we are in compare despair because we're comparing our blooming or blossoming to someone else's. And so I invite you to take your eyes off of everyone else and to center in on the becoming of your own soul, the growth of your own spirit, your own mind, your own heart, the lessons that you have learned, the wisdom that you pull out of your wounds. And so when I make myself my own measure, then I can see the ways in which I am blooming. I see that I made some decisions today that are stronger and wiser than what I would have chosen 5 years ago. I see that I am able to acknowledge some things, that I have consciousness about some things, that I have learned some new skills and some new lessons, that I have dared to dream in new ways, to soar in new ways, that I notice my growth, and perhaps even those who are around me see my growth as well. And so when I can rejoice in my process, then that encourages me to continue to bloom. When I can rejoice in my journey, then I don't hold off waiting for perfection. That even in my imperfection, I can see the ways in which I am developing and healing and growing and becoming. And I celebrate me, and I celebrate you on that journey. What a gift it is to know that we are yet becoming, to know that there is growth available to us. And I am excited about your blooming season, and the season after that, and the season after that, as we continue to arrive in the fullness of our soul's essence. I invite your soul to tell your heart, mind, body, and spirit, welcome home.